Big thanks go out to Tywa for supporting today's video via Patreon. Borborygmos versus Shelob, Zaxara and Emry. Only one bit of ramp and it relies on our opponents, so we'll have to mulligan that one, I think. Got some more useless cards in our opening hand there as well. This is looking a lot better. It would be nice if we can get into a fetch to make use of the ramming app, but we'll certainly try. Alright, draw into a mana vault. Mana crypt on turn 1 for our opponent, so I don't mind having the fast mana myself. It's noteworthy that I did join a game that was labelled as casual, but what does that ever mean, especially on Magic Online? Just lands from our opponents, gets us into a Wheel of Fortune, which is tempting, so do we just go for the Surly Badgersaw here and then maybe look at going for the Wheel of Fortune? I think that's fine. So play the Surly Badgersaw. Welding Jar for Emry, who has likely built this as a Cheerio style deck. Reverse Engineer makes use of Improvise and draws our opponent 3 cards, so again don't feel too bad about going for the Wheel of Fortune now because our opponent does have a surplus of cards in hand anyway. Zaxara throwing out a Gilded Goose with his first piece of untapped mana. Okay, drawing into Swiftfoot Boots. It's tempting to get down Ramming App and Mana Vault and the boots and everything first, but I think I'd rather just get a fresh grip very quickly here, so maybe we could play the Mana Vault and get down the Swiftfoot Boots. We'd have to obviously tap down the Vault in order to still have mana for the Wheel of Fortune though. Play the Vault, and I think we'll just forego the Swiftfoot Boots here. Let's go Wheel of Fortune. That is allowed, and in here we have a Metalworker and a Sculpting Steel are the most relevant things, I think. We target the Gilded Goose with the Surly Badgersaw for a fight. Do that twice because we discarded a couple of creatures. Plus counter on the Badgersaw first. And we've drawn into Beast Within, some lands, Praetor's Council, Tyler's Provisioner. Having Praetor's Council means I don't feel as bad about losing out on some cards here. Bag of Holding we can get down. That's relevant if we get some more discard shenanigans going. So throw out the Bag of Holding. And we'll swing into the left against the blue player who's getting quite far ahead, as are we. The blue player throwing out Efficient Construction and casting an artifact into that to make a Thopter. Basalt Monolith can be infinite mana. I have no doubt that Emry is going to generate infinite mana at some point if allowed to. Instead tapping it down for 3 straight away into a Cloud Key, which will probably make artifacts cost 1 less. It's noteworthy that that wheel got rid of a couple of tutors from our opponent, Whir of Invention, and a Transmute artifact as well, so yeah, getting an early wheel is often a pretty good play because it means your opponent's kept decent hands, if not very good hands, and you can ruin that for them with a wheel by forcing them to discard. An Elvish Mystic for the Zaxara player into a Growth Spiral, a Scryland for Shelob, and Edge of Autumn this early in the game means that our opponent can ramp. Okay, drawing into Dockside Extortionist. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 treasures we'll get from that. Do we take advantage and get down our commander here? Definitely want the Tyler's Provisioner, so we'll play that. And I think we're fine to shock in Stomping Ground just so I've got green mana held up for the Beast Within. Make our first treasure token to the Provisioner. And now let's go for the Dockside. That means that we've got 10 treasures, so time to aim for our commander, I think. Yeah, we've still got 6 treasures held up, so Beast Within, Praetor's Council for next turn should be good. But yeah, just holding up Beast Within here, I think. And if we can use the Beast Within regardless, then Praetor's Council will bring it back to us, discarding the lands for Lightning Bolts as well. So we'll go into the left, allow our opponent to chump block the Burly or Surly Badgersaw, not the Burly Sadgersaw. Vedalken Archmage is going to have the Artifacts Cantrip, and our opponent following that up with a tap land in Halimar Depths, so we could go for Beast Within onto this before they draw any more cards. I mean, they're going to draw to the Wheel of Fortune anyway, so yeah, I think we'll just leave them alone in case we see a massive threat from these 2 players. Not likely, but it's probably a good idea to just hold on to it anyway. Could always blow up our own Dockside Extortionist, ready to bring it back with the Praetor's Council. That is an Ashnod's Altar, also worth blowing up. Glad we saw the back of those tutors, because there's multiple combo pieces in play here. Yeah, so Beast Within onto this, and then discarding for a Lightning Bolt onto that is probably going to be a good idea. Maybe should have done the bolt before now. But making my opponent sacrifice his Thopters isn't the worst thing, assuming that that's what he's looking to do with the altar. Yeah, sacrificing his stuff, so he's got 4 mana floating, and plays a Forsaken Monument, which is another scary one. Yeah, he's had a few more cards than he probably should have done from the Vidalcan, so I'll go for the Lightning Bolt now. We create a treasure token to the Surly Badgersaw thanks to discarding a land, and Bag of Holding will exile that from our graveyard, so yeah, a wheel into this means that we're a little bit prone to this being destroyed and losing our stuff in the graveyard, but we could gain a big upside from this thing, so decide to try it in the deck. Another Thopter being created, and the Vidalcan Archmage will resolve for one last time. So there we see Emry, Lurker of the Loch. No means of protecting it as far as we can tell. They do mill 4 when it enters, so that's an island, copy artifact, a March of Progress, and a Seat of the Synod, so only one artifact hit there, and it's not the best one. So I'm thinking at the moment we might want to Lightning Bolt the dockside, ready to grab it back with this, but letting Emry untap is a risky thing. We'll have blown up the Ashnod's altar with the Beast Within by then, I imagine. Sakura Tribe Elder continuing to ramp, followed by Entish Restoration. Doesn't have a big creature in play, but we'll still go up a land with that. That is a Bloodline Pretender for the tribal player, so that's the first spider that we see. Alright, so at the end of the turn, let's go for discarding a land. I'm going to point it at the dockside because we're going to need a hell of a lot of mana next turn if we want to go for that Praetor's Council. Make a treasure to the Badgersaw, and again the land goes into the Bag of Holding. And I'm assuming that we're going to draw into a land to the wheel, so we could probably get rid of Emry. Oh, we've also got a means of getting into lands with attacking as well, so yeah, we'll go for the Ashnod's Altar and assume that we can get rid of Emry during our next turn. Although it is noteworthy that that will put a 3-3 in play, ready to block the Borborygmos. They can double block. Yeah, so maybe leave it alone for now, actually. Does mean that we'll be spending more mana next turn, but this way we can actually guarantee getting rid of Emry and likely hit more lands. Could have always done the Beast Within thing and then swung somewhere else, but I want to show my opponents that I'm swinging in over here, really. I think these two players are doing well sticking it out against this as is. And we know you have to be quite delicate with Magic Online players. Okay, another land for us. I think I'll actually play that one. I think we took a Lightning Bolt damage to the Mana Crypt there. So I'll hold on to the land just in case we need to bolt, but I think we're going to go straight into combat here. And we'll go into the left if our opponent wants to double block on the Surly Badgersaw. We'll get rid of the Emry, so that's fine. Sakura Tribe Elder being cracked in response to our attacks. Alright, our opponent deciding to chump. Double block, surprisingly, the Surly Badgersaw, like we said, so does that mean we do discard a land after all? We put the Commander in front, and then, yeah, I suppose we can bolt the Thopter. Could blow this up to debuff that. But I think Ashnod's Altar out of play is better. We'll go for Ashnod's Altar first, see if they want to sacrifice the token for some reason. Probably not, though. Probably just going to have to discard the land and bolt. So we'll point our land at the Thopter. Again, this will make a treasure token, and it will go into the Bag of Holding. And because our commander has trample, it will ignore the 3 blocking damage that was previously, and will just account for the 2 toughness on the commander. So that means we get 5 points of commander damage through. And we'll see how many lands are on top of our library. Okay, that's good. We've got a dual land, or a fetch land even, which is really good with the Tireless Provisioner, so both of these into hand. So play the Wooded Foothills. Make a treasure with the Provisioner twice upon cracking that. Might as well put it in the bin, ready to get it back with the Praetor's Council. Then we might as well get something out of discarding the land here, if we're going to discard it to the Wheel of Fortune anyway. So get rid of that beast token, really hammer down on the mono blue player here. And now finally go for the Praetor's Council, and pray that it doesn't get countered. This brings all the cards from our graveyard back into hand, and we'll have no max hand size for the rest of the game. Noteworthy the blue player is holding up priority, so might have a means of, I don't know, Force of Will or something like that. Thankfully not. So let's go for this Dockside Extortionist and see how much damage we can do here. It's only turn 5, and that's the power of fast mana. So 6 treasures when Dockside enters, and then we jump up to 15. So we definitely want Snake Umbra on our commander, I think, because that will draw us cards whenever we discard and deal damage with it. And it's also an Umbra, so will help keep the commander in play. Noteworthy, we do have to deal damage to an opponent with this, but it should be easy enough. Play the Swiftfoot Boots as well. And then we've got 9 mana left, which means we've got exactly enough for all 3 of our spells here. Not sure if I want to bother with Wheel of Fortune though. And do we need to definitely have Raminap in hand? So I think it's a better idea to just hold up Beast Within and the Bag of Holding to get lands in hand if we're desperate. Yeah, we might be able to get rid of this player this turn actually, so let's go for that. Discard a land to deal direct damage to the blue player. Discard the Wooded Foothills to do that. Makes another treasure with the Badgersaw. And this way we might be able to go all out and actually Wheel of Fortune this turn to try and get into more lands if that's relevant. We draw a card to Borborygmos, dealing damage directly to the red player or the blue player. Scouting Trek, search for any number of basics and put them on top. I mean, that just means that we win. So sacrifice the Bag of Holding to get all these lands in hand. Just been really lucky this game with, it's mostly the Emry going off that allowed us to go off with the Dockside. Made all the difference in the world here, otherwise it would have been a much slower game I think. So Bag of Holding, turns out it was a good thing to put in the deck. Means we get some more lands. Scouting Trek, and we're going to keep making mana with the Surly Badgersaw as well, so everything's gone perfectly for us here. I don't imagine it'll work this well the vast majority of the time. We'll put all of our basics on top. Alright, so every single basic is now going to be on top of our library after a shuffle. Alright, took a while to click through all the lands and then I've got to manually put them on top of the library as well, so I appreciate my opponents playing it out. They're being good sports about it. Now we can go off. We've got a bunch of basics on top of our library, so every time we hit someone, thanks to the Snake Umbra, discard a land and hit someone, the Snake Umbra will trigger, draw us into one of those basics that we just put on top of our library, and that means that we can consistently lightning bolt our opponents. Alright, so this player's scooping, that might actually make a difference. I actually didn't keep track of whether or not we have enough lands to go off here. Hopefully we do. We'll get rid of at least one player. Usually we'd have double damage or something like that, but I'm going to take advantage of the combo while we've got it. And you can see here, as and when we draw into a new card, it will be a basic that we put on top. Make a treasure token with the Badgersaw every time we do that. Nearly got one of our opponents. Obviously targeting the one with the most mana available. And our opponents are being really good sports about that, so they deserve all the credit. Yeah, so that player deciding to scoop, that means that... yeah, now both players deciding to scoop. Again, not sure how many lands we actually had on top there. It might not have been enough to get rid of both players. Yeah, I think it was another 10 basics on top, so would have had our opponent down to 11. Could have then gone for the Wheel of Fortune into some more stuff and maybe eked out a bit more damage. But the client now not showing us what we would have had available. But yeah, pretty commanding one from Borborygmos Enraged. Just really lucky that an Emry of the Lock player was at the table and able to make a lot of artifacts for us to see with the Dockside Extortionist. Pity for the other two players. I think they were expecting a more casual game than this. It's, as ever, I've said it 100,000 times on the channel, but difficult to know what casual actually is on Magic Online, because some players bring Emry and some players bring Spider Tribal, so hard luck to my opponents, but I do thank them for playing it out. And I thank the patrons for supporting the channel as well. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.